So you're a landlord in Cambridge, Somerville, or Medford, Massachusetts, and you want to make sure you're doing all the right things to attract high quality tenants, make sure that you're maximizing your rents, and making sure that you have long-term tenants so you don't have constant headaches with turnover. In today's video, I'm going to share one tip that I see so many landlords get so wrong that costs them really big in the long run. Hey guys, my name is Sage Jankowitz. I am also known as Cambridge Sage. I am a real estate agent serving Cambridge, Somerville, and Medford, Massachusetts. I've closed over 500 transactions in the last 5 years. Before I get into the video, please take a second to hit that subscribe button so you can continue to get great content on all things Cambridge, Somerville, and Medford investing, landlording, buying and selling, multifamilies, and primary properties. All right, let's get into it. Now, what is the one big tip that I'm going to give you in today's video? It might not be what you're expecting. The answer is washer and dryers. Now, here's how a lot of landlords sort of think about washer dryers in my experience. Their attitude is, why would I add a washer dryer to my building, let alone in unit? But why even put it in the basement? You know, if I just remove the washer dryer, I have a triple decker Sage, my water bill is through the roof. I'm paying literally thousands and thousands of dollars. I have to pay the water bill. I don't want to have to eat that cost. And so I'm going to be a really smart, savvy landlord and just get rid of all the washer dryers. And then I don't have to deal with, this giant water bill. I'm actually going to keep thousands of dollars in my pocket. It's going to be a huge win for me. Not to mention, I used to have washer dryers in the past and tenants are constantly hassling me. They screw up that washer dryer. They don't know how to use it. They put things in their pockets in their jeans and they put it in the washer dryer. I'm calling the repairman. So not only is the water bill high, but my repair bills are high and I'm just sick of it. It's not worth it. So I understand how you might think, okay, I'll just scrap the washer dryer. I'll save a few $1,000 and a lot of headaches and it's just a no-brainer. Before I kind of get into the solution here and why I disagree with that approach, I want to just kind of go through the various options you have on sort of a washer dryer sliding scale. So the first option, of course, is you can be a landlord. You can say, no, I'm not having washer dryers in the building no matter what, period. It's not happening. Either you don't have the washer dryer hookups or you can claim to tenants you don't have them. It's not open for debate. So that's sort of on the far end of the spectrum, okay? Then sort of the second level on the spectrum is I've seen landlords say, I'm not going to provide washer dryers, but if you want to provide it, you being the tenant, you can buy your own and you can be in charge of hooking them up and then you can maintain them. And if they break, it's on you. So that's sort of the second level I do see sometimes as well. Then the third option, which I will sometimes see, which is a bit more common, is okay, there's washer dryers. It's in the basement and they're coin operated, so it's a set of generally like commercial grade washer dryers. They're coin operated. The tenants have to pay to use them. And then those coins, in some sense, I guess, will offset, your water bill and your cost to maintain the machines and your headaches. As a landlord, some people like to go that approach. Then sort of the fourth way to go here, and this is probably the most common that I see in Cambridge, Somerville, and Medford for the vast majority of properties is, okay, we'll do washer dryers. They're free and they're in the basement. And it's shared. Sometimes you'll have a couple sets of machines. Sometimes it'll be one machine for multiple units. And then finally on the far end, on the opposite end of the spectrum is washer dryer in your actual unit. You don't have to go down to your creepy New England basement. It's all right there. Okay, so now I've kind of laid out the different options you as a landlord have on sort of the washer dryer sliding scale. But let's take a second and talk about why this approach that I mentioned at the beginning of the video about not having washer dryers or making it very difficult on the tenant. They have to provide their own washer dryers. Why is this so short-sighted and why is this generally a really bad idea? So the first thing that you need to understand, at least in the markets that I tend to focus on, which is Cambridge, Somerville, and a bit of Medford, is that the vast majority of tenants have a tenant expectation as a baseline that washer dryers will at least be in the building. Most tenants in these particular areas do not expect to go to a laundromat, and they just simply will not even consider a unit if washer dryer isn't in the unit. In my estimation, I would say at least 80 to 90, if not more, % of all tenants in these areas will simply cross your property off the list if your washer dryer is not available within the building in some shape or form. So what you're essentially doing is you're taking the tenant pool and you're massively decreasing it. And so what happens if you have way fewer people looking? Well, there's way less demand. So as a result, it's going to generally take longer, first of all, to rent your unit. So one of the issues is instead of a unit that might take a couple weeks to rent, your unit might take a couple of months to rent. And that's assuming it's during the busy season. During the off season, you could take a couple months, maybe 1 to 2 months, and it could become 3 or 4 months to rent your same unit. So the first main issue is that your what I call DOM, days on market, the days it takes to rent your unit, goes up exponentially. And depending on how this works, what could end up happening is you have a month or 2 or 3 of vacancy, which over the long haul will cost you a lot of money. A typical unit in Cambridge, Somerville, Medford is, typically between $2,500 and $3,500. If you have 3 months of vacancy, you're losing $7,500 to $10,000. That is more than your annual water bill. Even if this happens only a couple times over the course of a 10-year period, it adds up substantially. So the first big negative to not having a washer dryer is it takes longer to rent, which usually will up your vacancy rate, which will ultimately result in dollars lost. The second thing, because you don't have washer dryer, not only are you losing a lot of your tenants, but you're losing the tenants which are looking for a premium product and are willing to pay the most. So remember earlier we talked about that sliding scale? Well, as you get further along that sliding scale, not only does your DOM shrink and your unit rents faster, but you're attracting higher quality tenants who generally make more money, who are generally willing to pay a premium for further along the scale, with in-unit being the most desirable and tenants willing to pay the most. So what's kind of ironic is a lot of landlords think they're removing the washer dryer, they're saving the repair costs, they're saving on the water bill costs, which, between both of those might be a few $1,000s, maybe as much as $5,000 or $6,000 a year. But if you have a unit that has on the high end of the spectrum, say a washer dryer unit in all 3 units, well, each unit now is probably going to get somewhere between $200 and $400 more a month in rent. So if you have a triple decker, that's another $600 to $1,200 a month in rent. So that will easily offset the additional costs involved in maintaining the machines as well as the increase in your water bill. So for that reason, it often is a no-brainer to, at a bare minimum, have your washer dryer free in the basement, I would say. Some people will go coin op. I'm not a big fan of it. If it were me, I would go free in the basement or in unit. So that's the second sort of key point here with including washer dryer in the building, at least ideally free, or really ideally in unit. And sort of the third and final point here when it comes to washer dryers is something I call sort of churn rate, right? Depending on how your unit is set up, it could create an environment where tenants tend to churn, in other words, leave after 1 year at a very high frequency. When you have a unit that isn't super attractive, and frankly, if your unit doesn't have washer dryer in the building at all, or if it's coin operated, it isn't as attractive, you are going to find your tenants are leaving at a higher frequency and faster. And so if that happens and your churn rate increases, well, your expenses go up. First of all, back to vacancy rate. Your vacancy rate will go up. But also, there's going to be wear and tear in the building when people are constantly moving in and moving out. So what that means is at a higher frequent rate, you're going to have to paint the walls. You might have to refinish the floors. There's other damage that happens, and this stuff adds up. A paint job can be thousands of dollars for just one unit. So the bottom line is that all of these factors ultimately result in money that you might not see on the surface, but is actually costing you quite a bit. So in conclusion, pay attention to washer dryers. It may seem like a silly small thing to you as a landlord, but to tenants, it's a really, really big thing. In my opinion, a baseline must have in the communities I work. If you don't have them, you are ultimately losing money, both now and in the future, and through churn, and through days on market, and through tenant quality, and all these other small ways that are a little bit hard to measure. I hope you guys found this video helpful. If you guys have particular questions about your washer dryer setup or some other setup situation, and you want to maybe have a property audit by me to come and take a look at your property, understand what we can do to fix it, let me know. You can hit me up in the calendar link below and set up a time to chat. Please subscribe, please like this video, and I'll see you guys next time.